Hello and welcome back. This is part 2 of DAO. So in the last video, we spoke about DAO and what, why, and how part. So how part we are implementing with this example. In the last video, I spoke about this example in which we are going to create an employee management system with this architecture. So we have a tester class calling employee service. Employee service is for having the business logic, employee DAO or employee DAO for any database transaction, and then we have database. So we are going to start with creating the database tables. So I'm using MySQL. So I'll just go ahead and create a table here. So create table employee. In this, I'm going to create employee ID as the primary key, first name, but 100, comma last name, but 100, email. I'm making it very simple, and then salary is of double tap. Looks like there is some salary. Let me just check. Oh, this should be the name should be the first part in this. When you work with multiple technologies, you get such errors. No database selected. Okay, so I have sample DB, so I'll say use sample DB, and then I'll create this table. So my table is created. I'm creating this a very simple application, so there is no the relationship between other tables. It's very straightforward application, employee management system, and then I'm going to perform the third operation: create, read, update, and delete operations. So since our table is there in the database, let's go ahead and write the uh, code. So now if you see this architecture, so this employee DAO employee service will not directly work. So we need to create the POJO classes, and then we need to also create some utility classes. So I'm going to explain you one by one how this application is to be built. So first of all, I'm going to create a POJO class. And before that, I'm going to also add one more dependency that is for, this DOM book, so that, I don't have to create. So I will skip that. I will add my getter setter methods myself, so that, I will not make this more complex. So com dot EMS employee management system dot POJOs. So you should always give the package names which are more meaningful. Com stands for commercial, EMS is my project name, POJOs dot DAOs dot services. This is the way you should create your packages. And the name I'm going to give this to my class as employee. Okay. And when you create that employee POJO class, make sure that it is in line with your table. So whatever the parameters or column names that you have in your table, right, give the same names here as well. So private integer employee ID, private string first name, private string last name, private string email, and private double salary. Okay, so these are my properties which are in line with my table columns. So now since I have my properties, I'm going to create the default constructor using control and space. You get this option. Again, I'll go to source and say generate constructor using fields, so that I'll get all these fields into my constructor. And along with this, I need getter setter methods. So I'll Again, go to source, generate getter setter methods, select all these properties, will create getter setter methods, and finally I need a toString method also. So I'll go to source again and choose toString. That will create a toString method. The significance of toString is that when you print the object, it will print, or it will call this toString method. So whatever that you have in toString defined, it will be printed. That's my Pojo class. That's my first step, right? Now the second step is to create an interface called employee DAO. So I'm going to call it as DAO's package, and then here I will call employee DAO. Okay. So now why I'm creating employee DAO? Why not I'm creating the employee DAO as a class? Okay. So here one more thing now I'm adding is an interface called employee DAO, and that interface I will implement into my employee DAO. In the similar way, I will create a employee service interface, and that I will implement into my employee service class. Obviously a different class name to it. Now the reason I'm doing this is to achieve loose coupling. Okay, so interfaces are used for achieving loose coupling into your application. So today you are implementing that DAO using JDBC. Tomorrow you might change it with Hibernate or with JPU. So in your code, you should never use the class references. Instead, you should use interface references, so that later point in time you can easily change that. Interfaces are for implementing loose coupling. I'll show you how it is useful when I implement that. So that's my DAO interface, and now I will add those methods which I want to implement. So public void add employee, that will accept an employee object. Okay, then public void remove employee with employee ID, and these methods are going to throw exception. So throws SQL exception, because I'm going to use it JDBC for implementing this. These methods are going to throw SQL exception, and then I will add a public void employee. So to get one employee, I'm going to write get employee integer employee ID, which throws again SQL exception. And lastly, one more method which is list of employees. So I'm going to get java.util employee get employees is my method which doesn't accept any parameter. So that's how I'm going to add all my some error here. Not adding import java dot okay, I think I have to add it into my module info.java. Let me do one thing. Okay, to make it more simple, I will just drop this module info.java. Okay, otherwise you had to mention that into your module info.java. So now this looks all good now. All right, so that's my interface, and then now this interface I will implement into my implementation class, so which is employee DAO IMPL, employee DAO IMPL implementation class, which implements employee DAO. Okay, and then I will add all my methods. all my methods. So I have all the add employee, remove employee, get employee, and get employees method. Okay. Now I have to connect this code with my database. So I need to make a connection. I have to make the prepared statements and so on. So what generally people do is they write all of that code here. So what code? So first of all, I will load this class.forName. It should be C capital class.forName form.mysql.cj.adbc.driver. That's my driver. Not needed, but we'll write it. Okay, and then what I'll do is I'll create a prepared statement. Before that, I'll create a connection to the database. So connection is equal to driver manager dot get connection, and my URL is jdbc://localhost 3306 is the default port that MySQL uses, and remember my database name was sample.db. Okay, and then I'm going to give my username, my database username, and password. And then I'll create a prepared statement so that you just compile that only once and use it multiple times. So pst1 is equal to connection dot prepare statement, and here I will like insert into, that's my SQL query, insert into employee values, and then I'm going to use the placeholders here. So placeholders like question marks or whatever number of parameters that you are going to pass to it. So I have ID, first name, last name, email, and salary. So these are 5 question marks, placeholders, and then you execute that. So pst1 dot set parameter, give the values to the question mark, and then execute. But the problem with this is you will have to write this code into each of your methods. So write it here, write it here, write it here. That's what people do. Okay, that's not the correct way of writing the code. Okay, so this we can do in a separate place. So I can put this code into a constructor. So here I'm going to define a constructor, and I can place this code here. Okay, so now these are throwing exceptions, so you can write throws clause to our constructor. But see, the problem again is if I write this code here, I mean the connection part, this much code if I write in this employee DAO constructor, the problem is I may have other DAO classes as well, like admin DAO or customer DAO, order DAO, any other DAO classes. In those classes also, in those DAO classes also, I had to repeat this code. Hence, we will be writing this code into a separate class so that we can reuse that. Right, and that we will discuss in the next video. So thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video where we will implement separate class for implementing this connection code.